The way Beltway media works is this. Someone picks a theme, somebody picks an explanatory story to lump together and contextualize and explain what's going on in politics. There's nothing at all wrong with that. We humans are story-based creatures, and it is easier to absorb information when it's plugged into a narrative. We are hardwired to accept explanations, not just raw data. Here's the thing, though. When the raw data, when the actual news totally contradicts the explanatory story that everyone's telling about that news, that disproven explanatory story should be dropped. When the media is lazy and facile and more interested in their own explanatory stories than they are in the actual news, though, what happens is this. Unharnessed anger. Incumbents win in North Carolina, Ohio, and Indiana. You might remember me making fun of that headline from the Associated Press about last month's primaries. We really, really, really want to be able to hold on to this narrative that all incumbents are all getting thrown out, that the anger has been unharnessed. We therefore find it very uncomfortable to have to report that actually all the incumbents are winning. I thought that was so embarrassing in the little primaries last month that at least this month there'd be some effort to hedge a little, to dial back a little on this dumb, sweeping narrative that keeps getting disproven by the facts. I thought it would change. I was wrong. Here's today's New York Times. Quote, anti-incumbent rage bypasses Arkansas. Here's another one from Reuters. Arkansas Democrat Blanche Lincoln survives anti-incumbent wave. See, it's a little wave, an ineffectual wave that doesn't affect some incumbents depending on who they are. But we really want to keep calling it a wave. This was the great juxtaposition in today's big AP analysis on last night's primaries. Check this out. Antipathy toward elected officials and the establishment. A dispirited public is demanding change. So that's the big narrative, right? Public demands change. And that is right next to the AP's own story on the specifics of what happened last night. And I quote, incumbents sweep New Jersey congressional primaries. Don't let the facts hit your narrative in the butt on the way out. Listen, I understand that the Beltway media decided at some point a few months ago, what do they have, conventions or something? They decided that this was going to be anti-incumbency year. This was the anti-incumbency theme was going to be the story that they told to explain politics this year. But that has been sold as if it is a predictive story. They're saying, here's what's going to happen. The voters are going to throw all the incumbents out. They're going to throw the bums out. And then the bums keep not getting thrown out. In New Jersey, like I mentioned, 13 incumbents on the ballot in New Jersey, all of them won. In California, a whopping 52 incumbents on the ballot in California, each and every one of them winners. How about Virginia? 11 incumbents on the ballot in Virginia, all 11 incumbents won. In Iowa, 7 incumbents on the ballot. They all won as well. In Arkansas, 3 incumbents on the ballot, all 3 incumbents won. In South Dakota, 2 incumbents running, both winners. In Maine, 2 incumbents, both winners. In Montana and North Dakota, 1 incumbent each, not one of them the victim of mythical anti-incumbent rage. In fact, if you look at this whole campaign season, all the races all together, who among the incumbents has been thrown out? Well, I can tell you, it's easy to remember. There haven't been that many of them. There were 2 guys who switched parties. They lost. That's not that weird. There were 2 guys with corruption scandals who lost. Also not that weird. There was 1 guy who wasn't voted out. He was just unselected by a small number of party activists at a convention. That's not even that weird. And then there's Congressman Bob Inglis. Bob Inglis of South Carolina. Bob Inglis of South Carolina legitimately is an incumbent who got voted down in a primary without a corruption scandal or a party switch or a weird activists-only vote at a convention to explain it. Bob Inglis. That's the one. That's the one piece of data supporting the whole national narrative of the anti-incumbency wave. 1 guy who most of us had never heard of before last night. 1 guy, for what it's worth, who didn't even lose. He's in a runoff. So the big national, everybody agrees, anti-incumbency wave story is a good story. I'm not saying it isn't cogent, it isn't satisfying the way a good fairy tale always is. It is an enjoyable story both to tell, to hear, to spread around the campfire. It's just not true, in case that matters.